Hello, everybody. Welcome to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Happy Sunday, you guys. We have a lot to get into. I'm gonna try to be as cheerful as possible through a rough day of Florida sports here in the NFL, guys. Of course, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers' terrible loss to the Broncos. We'll get into what happens to the Jaguars and to Miami, as well as we had no teams in the NFL win any ball games today, guys. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what really happened and why these teams weren't able to find success. We'll move over to college football, where actually all three Florida teams were able to find success yesterday on College Football Saturday, so that's a blessing. At least we're not going home empty-handed this week. We will, of course, talk about the Rays and them staying around 500, trying to make a late playoff push with a few games remaining. This team has a chance, but man, by the game, it just gets scarier and scarier. The Marlins season is over, but we'll still talk about how they've been performing lately. And then, of course, we will wrap things up with the MLS. We will talk about Inter Miami and their most recent game, as well as the Orlando City. So, guys, get ready for that and so much more coming to you on this episode of Palm Tree Sports. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Yes, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. First things first, happy Sunday, you guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed your weekend as we get ready to push into this next week of work. I just really hope that we're all getting into the right mindset now that the weekend is over, and of course, just getting back to the way things are. And of course, I'm speaking on this because we have just entered the season of fall. So down here in Florida, it doesn't change that much, but hopefully we're going to get to see some change sooner than later. I'd like for it to get cooler. It's really hot down here. But as for the show, guys, obviously we're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk about why all of the teams in Florida lost today. We were not able to find any wins here in the state of Florida. 0-3 be the tally for today on a Sunday. On Saturday, it was actually 3+. All three teams in college won, so we'll talk about that. Of course, we're going to talk about the Rays and the Marlins, of course, and then we will wrap things up with the MLS today, guys. And that's basically what I have booked for you today on today's show of Palm Tree Sports Radio. But before we get into that, guys, we're going to talk about socials real quick. So for those of you who are tracking the socials, guys, you can find us on X, or formerly known as Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter for the record, guys, but IG, Facebook, TikTok, at IE Sports Radio, guys. That's where you're going to find the hub as far as the social media is concerned for our overview of our shows. Palm Tree Sports Radio is just one of many of those shows on IE Sports Radio. So that's where you'll be able to find that hub. Now, as far as the podcasts are concerned, no matter what device you're listening on, Android or iPhone, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Audible, just anywhere you get your podcast. iHeartRadio is a big one. So any place you get your podcast, you can find all of our shows. You obviously just have to type in the show, but IE Sports Radio is the hub again for the podcast, which you'll find all the other shows delegated under those. For the YouTube IE Sports Radio channel, obviously this is a big one. This is where you see a lot of our work, probably a lot of our faces as well. For those of the others who also do their own radio shows. So of course on YouTube, you're going to be able to type it in IE Sports Radio, and then of course again the YouTube hub for all of these shows. IESportsRadio.com is the hub as far as the websites are concerned. You can find the website and links to all of the other shows on this website right here, guys. So if you're ever looking for a show, you're not sure which one, this is going to be the key place to go to find whatever show it is you're looking for in IE Sports Radio. So for IE Sports Radio /Palm Tree Sports for my specific show, the show you're listening to right now, guys, of course, thank you for joining me on the show, but that's where you're going to be able to find it right there. Okay. So again, IESportsRadio.com /Palm Tree Sports. That is this specific show that you're looking to, guys. I don't have on IE Sports Radio hat. I have on the OG Tampa Bay Rays hat, guys. This is my favorite design for our Tampa Bay baseball team. But if you are looking for IE Sports Radio swag, that's where you're going to find it, guys. It's going to be IESportsRadio.com /shop. Hats, t-shirts, everything you think of, guys. That's what that we have on the website. If you guys want to go check it out, get yourself, like I said, a t-shirt, a hat. That's my kind of gig. I like matching t-shirt, matching hat deal. So, if you see it, you see it. That's going to be where you're going to get it, guys. For the Palm Tree social, as far as the Twitter handle and all the other handles that you'll find, it's going to be at @palmtree_IE. The IE is very important, so don't forget that, guys, if you're looking for it. Again, that's the social handle for this show. Of course, I run that social handle for Twitter, and I'm on it also for IG, so you will see me on there replying most of the time. It's me. So yeah, if you see it, you see it. And as far as my personal handle, guys, is going to be at Pujols Corey, of course. First name Corey, so last name is what you're going to search behind that @sign, and then just continue on from there, guys, and you will find me. I am closely knitted to all of major sports for the most part. I have a lot to say about it all, so come see me on Twitter. That's where I'm most active, in Instagram, of course, and then you'll see me, of course, on YouTube doing this show. So that is all of our social handles, guys. And before we get into the show, we'll take a deep dive into it. Let's go ahead and get a message in from our sponsors. Our sponsors are Planet Jerky. The jerky is a whole nother planet. And of course, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by our very own Cecilia B, guys. So a quick message from them. Let's go ahead and get that started. And when we get back, we'll go ahead and dive into what we have going on for the show this evening. Keep it locked here for about 2 minutes, guys. And we'll be right back in a moment.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps. for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @SealTheDeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radios, you guys. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, guys. So, let's start with comments. Yes, let's start with comments. Hey, everybody in the comment section. Hey, listen, first things first, Dad, you are the man. I love you. Thank you so much for being on my show. I really appreciate you seeing you in the comments, of course. So thank you. Love you. The best dad in the world. Ralph and Taryn, usual suspects, my guys. It's good to see you. Hey, listen, I seeing you guys in, I want to say it's literally always good to see you guys in the chat. Unfortunately, you guys are not getting the normal Corey for the normal show that you guys would expect. This is going to be a much more realistic show. Yes, I have a bit of a smile on my face, and that's because we got to take my son to the Lowry Park Zoo and Natural Zoo that we have here in Tampa Bay, and he had a great time with him. Love making those memories. I'm proud to be a father, Dad, as much as you are proud to be mine. I am to Junior, of course. So that's the happiness I did feel today. As for the happiness that I didn't feel today, yeah, let's start with it. Okay, so let's call a spade a spade. I have spent a long time talking proudly and highly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during this offseason and specifically during the first 2 weeks of the regular season. Guys, this is where I'm going to have to be that other side, that much more cynical, much more detailed, much more analytical side of myself is going to have to come out on tonight's show because I have nothing good to say about the experience that I had watching this Buccaneers football team play this afternoon. So I sound kind of serious. Understand that it's just coming from a place of having played football myself. And when I tell you that I watch these games and I call out coverages, I call out plays, and if I can, that means you guys can too as well, correct? Okay, so if we can, that also means the defense or the opposing team probably can as well, right? Okay, so that's where the problem starts with Tampa Bay. Let's go ahead and start this slaughter, okay? So the Buccaneers lose to the Broncos. 26-7 was the score of today's game. First things first, the Broncos are one of the three worst teams in the NFL. They could be 32, 31, or 30. It just depends on where you're looking at and who they're playing and how good they look. As of right now, during today's game, the Buccaneers look like 32. So we're going to start there. The Buccaneers executed absolutely nothing. Okay, they looked absolutely terrible. I was completely disgusted and embarrassed with this performance by my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I say that because of how highly, one, that I speak of this team, how highly my faith is in this team, and the fact that we just came off of beating the Lions. So now, guys, you are safe to ask the question, was that win a fluke? I'm not ready to answer that question. As a fan, as an analytical mind, I am ready to answer the question. The truth to the matter is this may just be who Tampa Bay is, unfortunately. The first week we played against a Commanders team that saw a rookie quarterback fresh out of LSU playing, so it was easy for us to find success on defense. Also, we weren't missing Antoine Winfield Jr. or Vita Vea. I'm not making excuses for the defense. I'm simply saying why it was a struggle for the defense to perform as well as they have in the first 2 weeks, especially knowing how tired they were from having to defend all day. When your offense only puts up 7 points and you have Chris Godwin, you have Mike Evans, you have Bucky Irving, you have Rashad White, there's only one person to look at. Actually, there's two people to look at. To be more specific, this is going to be one of the first times that we look at Liam Cohen and we say, what the were you doing today? Offensive coordinator, what were you doing? Some of these play calls were terrible. Some of these play calls were ill-timed, okay? And now Baker Mayfield is the other half of that coin, okay? Baker Mayfield played terribly, okay? Baker Mayfield played like he was back in Cleveland the year after they went to the playoffs. I'm not sure what happened, no smelling salts, but I've been a big I've been a huge Baker Mayfield defender and supporter since he got out of college, and I am going to have to hold him accountable, and I'm going to have to call it like what it was. He was the worst quarterback I saw today. Worst quarterback I saw today. Okay. Saw a couple of games. Dak Prescott looked terrible as well. Baker Mayfield this is probably the worst performance I've seen from him since Cleveland. Okay. This Broncos team is good. It's not that good. Okay. And to be 100% honest, their defense is better than their offense. On offense, they played a good game. Sean Payton is a wizard at the short pass. For the record, I hate Sean Payton. There's never going to be a universe where I like him or anybody from Tampa Bay really likes him. But the hat's off. The man is 7-0 against Todd Bowles. And Todd, I'm going to be honest with you. I saw you smiling at the end of the game. I saw you laughing at something. This is no laughing matter. It's disgusting, actually, is what it is. So to get past that first part, my initial thought process with the game, let's talk about what really happened. So Baker was unable to extend plays. He got sacked 7 times. Yes, that means that the O-line was terrible. And yes, we know the O-line is terrible. The real problem here is that Justin School is definitely a hindrance. Okay. I'm not sure what kind of offensive tackle he's trying to be, or offensive lineman more specifically, but you know what? He's about to be unemployed. These last 2 weeks, Baker Mayfield has been sacked 12 times. In 2 weeks, he's been sacked 12 times, guys. I don't know if you guys recognize that number from any time in history. I don't think it's ever happened like that in history. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what the stat is on that, but if anybody looks that up, feel free to put it in the comments. I'd greatly appreciate that. But let's talk about the obvious elephant in the room. The offensive line of Baker Mayfield played terribly. The run game kind of was there a little bit. Wasn't there a lot, but was there a little bit in the second quarter. You like to see a little bit more of that razzle-dazzle. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. Liam Cohen, what happened? Were your hands tied behind your back today? This is where I'm going to have to shine a light on him. Yes, Luka Decky being out hurts a lot, hurts a ton, tremendous at this point, as we can see. It's concussion protocol for the second week in a row. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but it's clear that he hasn't passed it. But the problem here is when you look at that line, you realize, okay, they can't pass block. They're struggling in the run blocking scheme. We've been drafting in the O-line for the last 3-4 years, guys. Tristan Wirfs came in the Super Bowl year. He was a rookie. Tristan Wirfs got beat a couple of times today. He looked very shaky. I'm not sure what's going on with him. All the guys that just got paid looked terrible yesterday that weren't injured. I don't really know what to say, guys, but those are my thoughts from a fan perspective. Remember, I'm also still a fan, so I'm being very critical because that's the feeling here in South Florida, in South Central Florida, guys. This Tampa Bay Buccaneers team looks to have fooled us, and that's just the truth to the matter. Obviously, it's not going to sound as bad for the other two teams simply because they're dealing with injuries in more specific locations, and of course, Jacksonville hasn't played yet. They play tomorrow. But yeah, Tampa Bay looked absolutely horrendous. And I'm not sick of beating a dead horse at this point. They are going to have to play better because this game was a treasure trove for future teams that we're going to be playing on how to beat Tampa Bay. And if we don't get our act together immediately, we're going to find ourselves in so much trouble that it's going to look like a repeat of last year. Okay. And we don't want a repeat of last year. I mean, not from the losing 6 games in a row perspective, right? Like that's what we are trying to avoid here. Tampa Bay next game is not going to get any easier. It's going to be against the Eagles, who are feeling rejuvenated, and they are feeling just themselves right now. I think they come off a big win against the Saints right here with I saw the ending to that game, actually, guys. So Reed Blankenship, tremendous interception off the back foot throw of Derek Carr. Derek Carr's heel has been just that, and unfortunately he was unable to beat himself while making that mistake. He also suffered a bit of an injury there at the end of the game on that hit that he took that saw the Eagles take possession and control back of that game and ultimately seal it away. So the Eagles 2-1, they're feeling confident. They're feeling empowered, if you will. They're going to come in. They're going to play good football. They're going to attempt to play good football. It just depends on who's healthy, right, for the Buccaneers. I really think that this team, if they're fully healthy, is a much better team than we played against with Denver. Obviously, missing the best safety in the NFL right now, Antoine Winfield Jr., really hurts, and the best defensive tackle in football, and Vita Vea, both of those hurt tremendously today, and our defense was very tired on a hot day in Tampa Bay, and we underperformed, and unfortunately, there's no excuses. I think this team is in a world of trouble if they cannot get healthy and get proper play calling at the proper times. It's just call it like what it is, guys. And again, Baker's going to have to do a better job improvising. My last tidbit on Tampa Bay, just because I saw this recently, was that Baker Mayfield was complaining about the culture that Brady created here. This is going to be one of those times where I have to stand up with my former. I love Baker Mayfield. I do. I truly do. I think he's a great talent. I think he's a wonderful person. And I think that he has a bright future ahead of him. You have nothing to say to Tom Brady, sir. With all due respect to you, there's not a thing that you can say to Tom Brady that will ever be correct. I don't care. Your opinion. The locker room was stressed out. Stressed out got us a Super Bowl. Stressed out got us a couple of division championships and a repeat NFC championship appearance that would have gone to another Super Bowl had. I'm having PTSD, guys. I apologize. What Tom Brady did for the franchise of Tampa Bay is nothing short of amazing. It's nothing short of a meteor strike directly to Earth's equator. Okay, it was meteoric. All right, and I will live and die on that hill. Baker, until you deliver a Super Bowl, there's nothing that you can say that will ever tarnish what Brady did here. And if I was Brady, I'd take no heed to this. He's probably just said out of frustration. But regardless of which, I wanted to address that fact real quick as a Tampa Bay fan, as a football fan, as somebody who loved Tom Brady from 2001 on. Right. So, Baker, you're going to have to sit down and be humble, as Kendrick once said. And that's my stance on that. Guys, let's go ahead and move over to the Jaguars. Enough with the PTSD, right? Enough with the PTSD. Let's move on to the Jaguars. Okay, so Jaguars, they haven't played yet. So that's a bit of a bright spot. They play tomorrow. Obviously, they're going to be playing the Buffalo Bills. The high-powered Buffalo Bills, a team that I think is one of the best teams in the league right now. I think that the Buffalo Bills are probably going to come in. I think they're going to win this game. I said that last week, and I'm not saying that because I don't think the Jaguars can win. The Jaguars can win. They're just going to have to play their best game yet. A bunch of 0-2 teams won today, okay? So, excuse me, my apologies there, guys. But the Broncos got their W today. The Ravens beat the Cowboys as they should have. Derrick Henry went crazy. I saw the first half of that game. And so Jacksonville is going to have a chance to right all of their wrongs and find a W here against Buffalo. It's not going to be an easy feat, but they can do it. How will they do it? They're going to have to control time of possession. They're going to have to keep Josh Allen in the pocket and force him to make mistakes. You cannot let him beat you on your feet, because if he does that, then you're beating yourself by second-guessing yourself and consistently thinking that he's going to take off with the football, which he will. And that's one of the things that you want to kind of avoid doing. The way Tampa Bay was able to stifle Michael Vick was we had Derrick Brooks, and he was playing what we now call, and what was called back in the original Tampa 2, who created it, Monty Kiffin, was the QB spy, okay? Derrick Brooks was a smaller, faster linebacker, and people ask, well, how was he able to do it? Well, when you have those big A and B gaps clustered with human bodies, it's going to give a linebacker a good chance to shoot down once he realizes the quarterback has the ball. At that point, now he's just got to be athletic enough to make the tackle. There's a linebacker right now who actually reminds me of double nickel, and that would be Fred Warner. I think he's a tremendous linebacker. I love watching him play football. I am a passive San Francisco fan, so shout out to them. But I love to watch him play football. He's an outstanding linebacker. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer by the time his career is done, and I think that's a perfect example of that in today's league. Well, that's something that the Jaguars are going to have to find within their linebacking core in order to stop Josh Allen, because you cannot, again, let him beat you with his feet. If he's doing well rushing, they're winning the game. That's just the way to look at that when it comes to Buffalo. Buffalo's weakness, though, I mean, they're a bit of a glass cannon, of course. They have tremendous offensive and defensive prowess, but once you crack them, they're cracked. Right. So Jags are just going to have to stay in control of time of possession. They're going to have to be effective running the ball. They haven't done that yet this year. But, I mean, again, a bunch of 0-2 teams have been showing up. Let's see if the Jaguars can do it. I still think that the Bills take that game, and we'll have to see what happens. But hopefully they're able to get their first win in the AFC, and they're able to bring down undefeated Buffalo Bills team. That game is going to take place tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. If you want to watch that game, that's the primetime game for Monday Night Football. So get ready for that, guys. I think it'll still be a good game. Unfortunately, the Jaguars will be out without tight end Evan Ingram. That is a big hit to them, and that's again why they're going to have to run the ball effectively, because they're going to need to rely on that play action pass to give their receivers time to separate from the defenders in order to create good passes for Trevor Lawrence, and also to keep him healthy and keep him from getting hit as well. Play action is going to be a big deal, which means run the ball is going to be a big deal. He's missing the game. Okay, Evan Ingram, he's missing the game due to a hamstring injury. So just keep that in mind, guys. He should be back next week. Hopefully, it'll be the week-to-week process, but hopefully he'll be good to go by next week, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. And then speaking of the following week, that next game is going to be against the Texans, who just suffered their first loss of the season today. And the Texans 2-1. That game is going to be Sunday, September 29th, 1 p.m. early start time for that game, and I believe it's the same thing for the Buccaneers. So you guys will be flip-flopping. If you're in Florida watching Florida sports, you'll be flip-flopping. If you're outside and you want to check it out, that multi-view is going to be the best bet for you for the games that are going to be coming to you in next week at 1 p.m. Unfortunately, the Fins do not play at 1 p.m. next week, so I'll get into that in a moment. But yeah, so that's what's going on there for the Jaguars. Again, the Jaguars are going to have to run the ball if they're going to want to find success here against the Bills. And of course, they're going to have to control time possession. You cannot give you just can't give Josh Allen that much time. When you give him time, bad things happen. That's just proven. So Dolphins. Okay, so Fins. Fins are Tua-less. And you know what that means? They're not winning. They're just not winning. I was going to look for another word to use, but I wasn't going to find one that wasn't a 4-letter word. So we're just going to say they're not going to win right now. Unfortunately, Tua's injury is career threatening at this point. The amount of the concussions that he has had, for those of you hoping that he makes a safe return, I actually hope that he just hangs it up. This young man's life is so much more important in the game of football. And I think that he still has other things that he can do, other ways that he can be centered around the game of football. And unfortunately, it's just these injuries are now happening. You guys saw the last one. Again, DeMar Hamlin did nothing. So it's one of those things where you got to look at the bigger picture. And Tua is a very gifted quarterback who won an SEC championship in college. And one of the guys that I enjoyed watching from a gunslinger perspective. The kid's he's so good. But Fins, it's time to move on. I think it's time to move on. This is probably for the better. Obviously, I can't tell this man how to live his life and what decisions he should make. But what I can say is you got to prioritize importance, right? And importance is life over football, right? Because football, even though we love it as much as we do, it is not everything, guys. It is not everything. Before we continue, take a quick peek back at the comments real quick. So let's go back up here. Yeah. So Jacksonville, like I said, I think they lose to Buffalo there, Taryn. I think they lose, but it's all good. I think that they have a good chance to win if they can do the things that I said. Of course, run the ball, keep Josh Allen in the pocket, force him to make mistakes, don't let him beat you with his feet. And these are things that you learn that, there are different kind of quarterbacks, right? You have quarterbacks like, remember Donovan McNabb, Steve Young, some of these quarterbacks who are underrated but really, really good runners, right? Who also had great pocket presence. Well, the thing is, the longer they sit in the pocket, the more they go crazy, right? And if you just watch football, you'll notice this. Just watch Josh Allen. Once it gets above 4 seconds in the pocket, he starts kind of okay, where are they coming from? They're coming. And that's, as a quarterback, you're prepared for that, right? So I think that that's going to be one of the ways that they can defeat the Buffalo Bills is just play those mind games by doing your job and doing your job well. As far as the Bucs losing to the Donkeys, or you mean the Broncos? Hey, listen, I'm not a fan of that franchise at all. I don't like the franchise. I've liked a few other players that they've had, but aside from that, Steve Atwater, Terrell Davis, Shannon Sharp, that's it. I pretty much don't like anybody else. Rod Smith. He was good. He was good. So Brandon Stokely was all right too, actually. And Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace to him. But guys, I don't. Buccaneers had us fooled. They had us fooled. Unless they can use this as a lesson and truly learn from it and truly move on and become closer and become better, this is just a tall tale sign of what to expect. And unfortunately, being a Bucs fan, now that Brady's no longer here, it seems like that standard of excellence is taking its toll. And again, Baker saying that he thought that Tom Brady had them stressed out. Well, you need to understand something. That's how you win championships. Go ask anybody who's a multi-time champion. Okay. Ray Lewis, perfect example. Okay. Michael Strahan. All right. Pittsburgh, just all of Pittsburgh, all of the championships they've won, because they've had some phenomenal teams, but let's not act like they didn't have to play the Cowboys. a couple of times, and the Cowboys have some good teams. Okay, so let's be honest when we think about those things, guys. But yeah, so let's continue on real quick down the comments real quick. Yeah, no Kansas. Winfield hurt. Clearly, this was going to be the game that we needed them to step up and just play well, but unfortunately, none of them. No help. Can't do anything about it. No. I think that's just what it is, guys. And it's unfortunate, but let's get back on track to Philly. You're right about that, Dad. And Jaguars, Buffalo. It won't be easy. No, I agree with that. And then, of course, praying Tua makes the right decision. Agreed, Dad. Agreed. Young man has a whole life ahead of him, and I would hate to see it go down the drain because of the game. Yeah, we love it, but we're talking about life here. Anyway, so back to the Finns. All right, let's go ahead and check back in on that side of things. So with the Finns, like I said, Skylar Thompson is not the answer at quarterback. Let's just be honest with that, right? Like, he's been a part of the team for a few years. He's a solid backup. He's a guy that can come in and kind of play garbage time for teams, a guy that can kind of come in and and I'm saying kind of a lot because he's not very good at it. Like, let's not act like if he wasn't good, other teams would have been trying to snipe him. You guys saw this, all right? Let's talk about this for reference real quick, okay? They benched Bryce Young, right? Terrible choice. Let's communicate. Like, okay, we got a couple people in here, guys. Think about it for a second. You win, you get this guy number 1 overall, okay? He's supposed to be the future of your organization. And then what is it? 18 games into his career, you bench him? No. That's not how that works. Now, unfortunately, you're going to put some mental blockage in this kid's head, and he's going to think, okay, I was a rookie last year. You guys fired my head coach. I have a new head coach. It's not going well. And then you put me down? Why? And at the end of the day, the big report out of that is that there are multiple teams looking to trade for Bryce Young. So I say that to say this. If Skylar Thompson was a truly good quarterback, he would be in a similar situation to Bryce Young, where there are multiple teams looking to trade for him. And the reason why that's a big deal is because, say, for instance, you see that this team is interested, right? You can now make a push at your front office, say, hey, listen, I demand a trade, and this is the team that I'm interested in. That doesn't mean it's going to go that way, of course, but realistically speaking, what do you have to lose? Because Skylar Thompson wasn't meant to play with these speedsters. He wasn't meant to quarterback this pair of wide receivers who's the fastest pair of receivers that we have in the league right now, okay? Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So, unfortunately, if it's not Tua, this offense just doesn't quite work the same way, and it wasn't tailor-made for Skylar Thompson. Now, Tyler Huntley, I believe, was who they went out and got. Now, that's a good choice. I think he's better than Skylar Thompson. I don't know if he's going to give you the opportunity to win. It just depends on how good his deep ball is, right? When you have these two receivers again. Miami can find success, I think, with Tyler Huntley. I think that's a guy that can win them enough games. I don't know if it'll happen this year, but I think they can. But right now, Skylar Thompson is not the answer. I think he went like 13 or 14 for like 106 yards, no touchdowns. That defense was stifling. Okay, they were completely suffocating the Dolphins, and you don't hear that about a Dolphins team when Tua is at quarterback. Keep that in mind, okay? But Tua is no longer at quarterback, so, again, this is going to be the big question for Miami is who is going to be their quarterback, and can they save this before it becomes too late? Because 3 games into the season, it's looking like it might be too late depending on how tomorrow, the next week's game goes against the Titans. Now, Titans are 0-3, okay? So the score of that game that they lost today was 24-3. As I said, the Seahawks defense was absolutely stifling and suffocating, but DK Metcalf had one of the craziest 70-yard touchdowns that you'll see. Of course, it's DK. The guy's just an absolute juggernaut. He's a monster of a human being, and he plays like it. So good job, DK there. Good job, Seahawks. Seahawks are 3-0. Good team, man. Good team in NFC West out there. Definitely going to give San Francisco fits this year. I don't think San Francisco is going to be on the same level, but that's for the NFC West. As far as this game goes for the AFC South guys, or AFC East, my apologies. Dolphins, like I said, Skylar Thompson's not the answer. You're going to have to figure out your quarterback situation there. Next game, Titans game, going to be Monday, September 30th, 7:30 p.m. There's your Monday Night Football game for next week, guys. Again, going to be the Titans, 0-3 Titans. They're struggling. They don't have an identity. Will Levis is just under siege. The guy looks like an antique castle in World War II. And I'm sorry for the dark reference, but guys, he's struggling. Okay, if they were thinking Bryce Young was struggling, I mean, Will Levis ain't doing too much better right now. So, hey, listen, that's the game coming up next week. I fully expect the Finns to win that game, even if Skylar Thompson is starting at quarter. I just think that the running backs are good enough. The offensive line is good enough to be able to run the ball and to keep the passes short and simple for whoever the quarterback is for Miami. But unfortunately, they're going to have to put that together. If they come in there and let the Titans win, they're in big big trouble, guys. But yeah, those are my thoughts right there going on for Miami. And as far as all the teams in the NFL, check chat real quick one more time before I get you guys into a break. Bryce Young needs to go to a team in the AFC. I agree. I would love to see Bryce Young. And you know what drives me crazy is thinking that I remember seeing Bryce Young when he was in college. Very good quarterback, good mature quarterback, but that was mature for college. Okay, doesn't mean he's going to be that way here in the NFL. So I would love to see him get to a team, even if he's just a backup, because I don't think he would be complaining if he was on the Chiefs right now. And I say that to say he could learn a lot from Patrick Mahomes. And I hate to say it because the Chiefs are getting so much love and attention from the league and from just everywhere. But just think about that for a second. Imagine Bryce Young underneath a Patrick Mahomes. Imagine him underneath a Aaron Rodgers. Okay, there are some teams that he could go to, and I think that he would truly be in good hands. And also, I think that he could. I mean, listen, if they think they got it bad there, go to Cleveland. Take the starting job from Deshaun Watson. I mean, that could also be a thing, right? Cleveland's playing terribly right now, and I didn't expect to see that coming. I thought Deshaun Watson was a good quarterback, but it looks like some things that may have happened in his past are haunting him on the field. That's the only way I can look at it, because this is not the Deshaun Watson I remember seeing back in the day. So, yeah, that's my thought process on that. But, hey, it is what it is, guys. Hey, Larry, good to see you, my man. Yep. It is what it is, though. I can't wait to see where he goes, and hopefully he goes somewhere where they want him. But you know what, guys? Hey, listen, that's enough about the NFL. Let's go ahead and get to our first break of the evening. When we get back, we'll cover college football. We'll go into the MLB and the MLS, and I'll send you on your way with some food for thought. But first, let's go ahead and get into our first message of the evening. And again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Keep it locked here for 2 more minutes, guys. We'll be right back at you with some more news right out of Florida.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
The roar of the crowd, the drama and pageantry, the adrenaline rush and decadence of the world of professional wrestling. Join yours truly, the SoCal Saint, for the best pro wrestling podcast going today, the IE Wrestling Show, exclusively on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Join us every Wednesday from 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, every Wednesday, the IE Wrestling Show. It's just too woo!
Welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, this is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Guys, welcome back to the show. So now we're moving into the portion away from the NFL, and from this point, you know, we're gonna make our way over the waves, guys. Like, we're gonna move along steadily because things get a little bit better now. Okay, so now. That was the negative part of the show, guys. That was the negative. So on to the positive. All 3 college football teams here in the state of Florida won yesterday, and you know what that means. We're going to start with our very own Florida Gators. Good job, Gators, on the W against Mississippi State. Now, let's be realistic for a split second before I get into the good and the bad. Realistically speaking, both of these teams are bad. Okay, both of these teams are both struggling. Both of these teams are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be and how they're going to be successful. The only difference is the Gators went out and recruited the number one quarterback out of high school last year, and he looks the part. He looks special, and I can't wait to see more of him. Here's what my issue is. I'm going to just tackle this concept right now. For any of those guys who watch college football and you're not 100% sure about what's going on in Florida, this is the issue, okay? I'm going to lay this out for you guys. Let me make this very, very clear. Billy Napier, the head coach of Florida, okay, has been there have been rumors that the boosters for the University of Florida have developed enough money to buy out his contract and to send him away because they are that disappointed with him. The problem is the athletic direction for Florida will not allow that to be carried out due to the fact that he recruited the number one high school quarterback last year. You guys got to take in consideration something. In a league where we see a lot of coaches switch places and go places, a lot of players follow. Billy Napier has a lot of players that came from the Louisiana Raging Cajuns that came over here, like Montrell Johnson and a few other players. When you take that in consideration, you also have to understand that by getting rid of the head coach, you could be getting rid of your future, and not just your future. Guys, you have seen DJ Lagway yourself, surely by now at this point. That kid has it. He has it. He has it, guys. He is the future of college football, and wherever he goes is going to find success. It doesn't matter if it's here, there, across the. It doesn't matter. Okay, kid's going to be successful. So that's something to take into consideration. I think a lot of people on the outside looking in are saying, "Hey, why is Billy Napier still the head coach at Florida? This is the University of Florida. This is the same university that has 3 Heisman trophies, 3 national championships. How's the greatest a college football player to ever do it? It's just such a storied college, not just in football, in track and field, in academics, of course. The veterinarian and medical programs that we have here are some of the very best in the country. So there are things that you look at when you look at the University of Florida. You say this is not the standard, this is not the Gator standard as we call it. We have many writings and just pictures, sculptures that are dedicated to the Gator standard, and we are not living up to that right now, University of Florida. So that's just something to take into consideration for as to why Billy Napier has not been fired and will most likely not be fired, barring a really, really bad dramatic loss to a bad team. Okay, that would be the only time that I think that we would expect to see something like that. And I'm just hoping and praying that doesn't happen. I like Billy Napier, but I think he needs an offensive coordinator. Shout out Demetrius, one of my close friends. He mentioned that, and he's right up on the money with that. I think he needs a dedicated offensive coordinator, somebody who's going to drill into the enemy team and realize, hey, these are the tendencies, these are the weaknesses, because head coaching and offensive coordinating it's not for the faint of heart. And unfortunately, I don't think Billy Napier is meant to do it at this level in the SEC, because we are in the SEC. This is no longer the FCS, okay? Everything just matters more in the SEC, right? Because you're playing for so much more than just an undefeated season. You're playing for a chance to represent the best conference in college football in the biggest game of the year. And the Gators have not been able to do that. But 2-2 be the record for the Florida Gators right now. They find that W against Mississippi State, like I said, by a score of, it was 45-28. It's a very misleading score. When you look at the score, you realize the Gators did put up points, but they really just put up points because they had probably the better quarterback. And let's just be honest about it. I think that the quarterback play early really separated itself. At one point in time, Graham Mertz had completed 18 passes in a row. I mean, the guy was just absolutely on fire. He looked amazing. And I hope that he continues to play that way moving forward. Of course, we got to see a little bit of DJ Lagway as well. He scored a touchdown, played pretty well down the stretch as far as the time that he had, but he didn't play much. That's the reason why I'm kind of wording it that way, because Graham Mertz really played the majority of the game. He played a cool 80% of the game, I would say. So good job, Graham. Way to come out of there with a W. The next game for the Florida Gators is actually going to be against UCF. That's 3-0 UCF. So our in-state tour continues. The last time we faced an undefeated team was the Miami Hurricanes, and they destroyed us. A lot of people think that UCF is also going to destroy the Gators. The Gators off the back of an SEC victory, which is the first Power 5 SEC, not SEC, Power 5 conference victory since October 17th of last year, guys. So take that in consideration. It's also obviously a big, almost a year between victories against good schools is what that means. So big W there for the Gators. Mississippi State still struggling to figure out identity, still struggling to develop a game plan on defense to be able to shut teams down. Good job offense. You guys pretty much carried the day. The defense played well in the first half. They got pretty bad in the second half. Defense, you guys got to go back and look at that tape and fix your issues. Stop complaining, stop whining, stop getting on social media. Just do your job. Go to school, get the grades, go to practice, knock somebody's head off, repeat. All right. So you're ready for these games because, guys, the defense is terrible. It was absolutely terrible yesterday. Okay. So we need to fix that. We need to fix the run. We need to fix the run defense. We need to fix the seam defense, guys. Just everything that pretty much isn't Jordan Castell needs work. All right, Jordan Castell, you are a wizard. You are the best player on that defensive secondary and on that defense in general, besides Shamar James. And y'all got to figure out Shamar. You also got to figure out because you got beat 3 times yesterday, and it was really, really bad to see you behind the offensive player. But yeah, anyway, so that's what's going on there for the Gators. That game is going to be Saturday, October 5th. Time to be determined. I'm pretty sure that's just to be determined simply because there's going to be a ton of games that are going to get switched around for the time frames. As you guys know, in college football, some games can start even before 12 p.m. So just keep that in mind that time is to be determined. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a noon game. I don't really see the sense in trying to make – usually when it's to be determined, it's like a 3:30. But this game doesn't – I don't think it needs to be like a 3:30 or a prime game. I think you can just make this a noon game. We're already in Florida. So if you make it a prime game, you're just doing that because, the slot's there at that point. But we'll see what happens. Could be a prime game. Just keep your eyes out for that one, guys. Gators 2-2 moving into this one against 3-0. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek back over the chats real quick and see what you guys had to say about that. So Gators should be 3-1. Glad for the victory. Yep, they absolutely should be 3-1. DJ Lagway will hit the portal if coach is fired or released from his contract. I 100% agree. When you come in under somebody, you're not going to want to leave that person. And it's kind of like a puppy. You have a puppy and you try to, get the puppy to leave and the puppy doesn't want to leave. It's similar to that. The only way that he would stay is if it's for something more a deeper reason, like he actually always wanted to be a Gator regardless of who the coach was. That'd be the only way I see him staying. Defense does need to improve. They were terrible yesterday. Like I said, run defense was horrible. Seam and out route defense was terrible. Jordan Castell saved us a bunch of times, but realistically, it can't just be one guy. It needs to be the whole defense. Defensive line is probably my biggest concern. Yes, and that game is in 2 weeks, guys. So just in case you guys didn't notice, the one slap on the back the Gators did receive during this offseason was the fact that they got a secondary bye. So this is the first of our 2 byes during this season, and we need it because unfortunately we have the hardest schedule in the history of college football, guys. You don't believe me? Go look at the schedule. Okay, what was it? It's like LSU, Georgia, Texas, all back to back, and there's another team in there that I didn't mention. I can't remember which team it is, but it's another ranked team. But LSU, Georgia, Texas are all back to back at one point in time later in this year. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't matter what college you are playing those 3 back to back to back. No bueno at all, guys. Okay, so Knowles, right? So let's talk about Knowles. Knowles lost 3 in a row. They found success against Cal, an undefeated Cal team, a good undefeated Cal team. Congratulations to Florida State. I'm not going to hang my hat on this one too much. The score was a low-scoring game. It was 14-9 be the score of that ball game. It was like 9-8, I think it was, or something like that for the longest time before the Noles were able to score that touchdown. Still can't move the football, still can't run the football, still can't defend. Was it the run? I think it was that. Yeah, Cal only lost the game because they didn't come prepared. Let's just be honest with that, right? Like, obviously, FSU is really struggling right now, but they were able to get their first win of the season, so I'm very happy for them. Starting the season 1-3 for the first time in a long time, but hey, it is what it is, guys. They got a W. They're on the board. They have a chance, and now they just have to build on that moving forward. I don't know how much they're going to be able to build on that because they're going to visit SMU next. SMU's are rocking a 3-1 record. They've been putting up a lot of points in all the games they play, like 56, 62-point games by SMU. The Mustangs are they're balling right now. They look like a real legitimate, FBS college, honestly, right now. So, the defense are going to have to shape up a little bit on defense. They're not really playing defense. They're just out shooting everybody, outgunning everybody. But you can probably do that against the Noles right now. The Noles are struggling again. They have no identity on offense. They don't know if they're coming or going. There's just so many problems with FSU right now. I think that if FSU and Florida both played, that Florida would actually win the game. That's how bad FSU is performing this year. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But my money is probably on SMU this week. I think the SMU is playing very, very well, and they've got a really potent offense right now. They can score at will. And FSU has struggled against teams like that clearly throughout the season. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Over to the Canes. Again, not a whole lot to say as much in this aspect, just due to the fact that, again, the Canes have not played anybody. We thought that USF would perform They would perform well. Unfortunately, they just did not, guys. USF played well in the first half of the game, right? And then the second half happened. And it just is one of those things where you watch this team and you say, okay, so what's wrong with this team? Why can't they figure it out? Well, the answer is simple. They're not a second half team. The adjustments that they make are pretty much non-existent. And when they play against good colleges, they basically kind of just burn themselves out in the first half. That's pretty much what I've gathered from the back-to-back losses against Alabama and now University of Miami. Miami, they're the best college in Florida right now. Now, again, they haven't played anybody. Their best win comes off the back of what? You want to give it to USF or Florida? Both of these teams are 2-2. The other two teams they played are in a worse condition. Is Miami for real? Yes. Can they beat a Texas or an Alabama or a Georgia right now? Cam Ward is a gift. He's phenomenal. The entire team of Texas is phenomenal everywhere. I don't care where you look at. You receiver, running back, quarterback, offensive line, tight end, defensive line, linebacker, defensive back, safety, kicker. Everybody's phenomenal on that Texas team. Now, I love Texas Longhorns. I'm partial, so it is what it is, guys. But they look great, okay? And that's the point that I'm trying to make. Georgia just does what Georgia is like. You ever take a big boulder and you put it at the top of a hill and you just roll it down the hill and you just watch the boulder just roll over everything? That's pretty much what the Bulldogs are. They're just knocking over at this point, okay? And so because of that, I really think that obviously this team, Miami, has a lot of work to do still. But as every game that goes on, the better their continuity, the better their confidence. 4-0 looks really good on them. Ranked 7 in the country looks really good on them. Just continue on, Miami. Just keep going, guys. That's all I can say. They beat USF 50 to 15. Guys, the score was 50 to 14, I think it was, at one point in time. I want you to take that in consideration. USF went up. They kicked the field goal, went up by 1 point, right? And then after that, Miami just started bang, bang, bang. You guys, it's scary to watch this team because they weren't this good a year ago or 2 years ago. Transfer portal did something very special for them, okay? So congratulations, Miami, on the start. 4-0 looks really, really good on you. You're about to go to 5-0. Your next game is against Virginia Tech. That's a wash. You guys are going to destroy Virginia Tech unless something happens dramatically, and you guys will move to 5-0 for the first time in 20 years. So I think it's first time in 20 years. Something. I think that was what it is. In any case, the bottom line is it's been a while since they've looked this good. And it's been a while since they've played this good. And I think they can do it. Virginia Tech game, Friday, September 27th, 7:30 p.m. Guys, yes, Friday game. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you're looking for Miami football, Friday, not Saturday. Don't miss the game, okay? Let's hit the chat real quick. All righty. Yes. Okay, so first things first, Dad, you did see the promo between Roman and Cody at the Georgia Tech stadium? Yes. Okay. Apparently, the wise man, Paul Heyman, actually directed that little skit, for the record. For that, any of you who watch pro wrestling, that's what we're talking about. Great skit. I encourage you to go watch it if you haven't seen it. Great storytelling. It was almost a cinematic. People don't realize WWE's kind of been playing with the idea of cinematics for a while, and I think that was really, really cool to see from them, and I think this is a different take on cinematics. Of course, we saw Undertaker, AJ Styles. We saw Cena versus, rest in peace to Bray Wyatt. But this was a different cinematic. This one felt real. This one felt almost like a really good TV show or anime. If you watch anime, you guys know what I'm talking about. I really can't wait to see what happens next with these two. But yeah, so great segment there. The Knowles, yeah, they are a joke. The problem is that they ran into Georgia. Larry, you know what I'm saying is true. You've watched a lot of football. You've played a lot of football. Dad, same. You've watched a lot of football. You've played a lot of football. We know what this is like, guys. You know what it's like when you've actually played the game. And sometimes your spirit just gets crushed. You could just get destroyed by a team. FSU thought they deserved to play for a national title. We all felt differently by I pretty much mean the majority of people with football sense. I'm not saying not that know the game of football, but football sense and understanding, okay, you can play, but who are you going to play? You're going to play Bama, Texas, or Georgia. You weren't beating any of those teams with Jordan Travis at quarterback. What made you think you were going to beat Georgia? Like, what did you have for them? What did you have? Run yet? Nope. Jordan Travis, so what? Georgia played against great quarterbacks all year long. You're not saying anything. So that's the concept that people have to understand. Did FSU go undefeated? Yes. Did they end the season in terrible fashion the way they did? Obviously, feeling like they got robbed? Yes. But be practical. Like, use your head. Do the math. You weren't beating Texas. You weren't beating Michigan. I mean, Michigan won the whole thing last year. But that's the way you have to look at it. Even if you had the shot, who is it that you were supposed to beat? Because anybody in that top 5 is no. So, yeah, they are a joke. I agree. At least Florida's one. Hey, look, we'll take the W. And it's an SEC W, so it means more, right? So I agree 100%. Yeah, the Noles win was ugly. Like you said, the score of the game was 9-8 at one point in time. The final score was 14-9. Ill. USF just not ready for top tier competition. Unfortunately, I don't know if they'll ever be. They inside the state of Florida. Excuse me, recruiting is already sucked up. Florida State University in Miami. You got UCF, you got FIU, FAU, USF. So many colleges here in football in Florida have football programs, and a lot of these programs are actually decent at best, and if not better. So yeah, unfortunately, they are not ready for it. That's pretty much it for the Canes, guys. That's it for college football. Let's go ahead and move on over into the next bit that I have for you guys, which is going to be the MLB, guys. So everything kind of moves a lot faster now that we're talking about the things that we're talking about. Obviously, the MLB is coming close to the end of the season here, guys. I'm personally super excited to see the postseason for baseball, just because there's a couple of teams that we just did not expect to see here this year. But I'm not going to complain about that. I'm very happy with the way the Rays have been playing. For those of you who missed it, the Rays did beat the Blue Jays. They beat them by a score of 4-3. They swept the Blue Jays in this 3-game series. So congratulations to return to 500, rocking a 78-78 record. We haven't been able to really get above 500 and stay there, but hopefully we can do that with a few games left in the season. It started off really well there. We've won the last 2 series. The series before this was against the Red Sox. We were actually able to pitch a no-hitter against the Red Sox, I believe it was. I mean, it wasn't just one pitcher, of course, but you get what I'm saying. The Red Sox didn't score. That was tremendous, obviously, and I think we've been just building confidence since then. Next game is going to be a 3-game series against the Tigers. The Tigers are rocking at 82-74 records. It's a good Detroit Tigers team. They're most likely headed to the postseason as well. The Tigers game is going to be Tuesday, September 24th at 6:40 p.m. So a little bit later start time. We're going to have more of those later start times as we get ready to move into the MLS or MLB's postseason. I'm sorry, I'm wrong sport. But yeah, as we continue to move into the postseason, of course, these times are going to become later times, and as prime time starts to set in, and that's kind of what we're expecting here. So it's all good though. But go Rays. Go Rays. We love you guys. You guys are, no matter what, we're always going to support you guys, and we're looking forward to see how y'all perform in this series against the Tigers. You've played well against the last 2 teams, but let's play against a team that actually has it going on right now and see how we perform. I think that we can win this series, of course, if we ride our confidence and just continue to play that we played. I watched yesterday's game, so I was very pleased to watch them come in. I think it was a 1-0 victory there. A lot of defense, a lot of good pitching. Just it's what you want, right? And yeah, there were times where we let guys get on base and whatnot, but we were able to, a couple of times, I think we had a 2-1 double play and a 3-1 double play. Good things are happening right now for the Rays, and hopefully they can just continue to ride that success. Again, next game is going to be against the Tigers, Detroit Tigers. That's going to be Tuesday, September 24th, 6:40 p.m. if you want to check that game out. Moving right on along to the Marlins. The Marlins already eliminated from postseason play. Obviously, when you look at the record, they're probably going to end this season with plus 100 losses. One of the worst teams in baseball right now, unfortunately, but can't do anything about it. All they can really do is just get to the other side of the season and just try to make it work from there. Off season, they're going to have to go sign some good guys and try to revamp this roster. Unfortunately, this roster is just kind of a misfits roster, if you will. They drafted well, but a lot of those guys are in minors. So they won't be called up. There'll probably be a couple of guys called up. I think about 2 or 3 of them are going to get called up this offseason. So just look out for that big drastic roster change for the Marlins this offseason is what I truly expect to see. But this franchise can't stay here too much longer. In Florida, they're actually the franchise who won a Major League Baseball championship. The Rays have not, but the Rays have statistically just performed better than they have, in recent memory. So, hey, it is what it is. They lost to the Braves 5-4. It's the Braves. Braves rocking an 85-71 record, one of the best teams in all of baseball, guys, and a team that's going to make a deep push into the playoffs. And then, of course, you have the Marlins, 57-99 record. Like I said, in all likelihood, they're going to lose over 100 games this season, and that's a very depressing stat to look at for Miami, but the Rays have been there before. So, it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. I said offseason is going to save them right now. That's basically the only thing that can save them. Don't worry, the ground will catch you, as my grandmother used to say. 2-4 in the last 6, lost 5 series in a row. They need a culture shift, right? So it's not just getting better players. Mentality is going to have to get fixed. Inside, some people are going to have to go. Some people are going to have to get elevated. Ultimately, it's going to come down to the front office and what they decide to do. But this franchise has been struggling for the last few years. So it is what it is for Miami. Next game is going to be against the Twins. That game is going to be Wednesday, September 25th, 7:40 p.m. So that game is going to take place a day after and an hour after exactly, all right, from the Rays game. So if you want to check that game out, it won't be a hallmark. You'll be able to check that one out, and you won't have to worry about crashing into the Rays game, if you want to check out both of those series. That's just my theory on that right quick. Quick bounce back over to the comment section real quick. Yep. Rays finishing strong. Gotta have it. And yes, guys, so we have reached the end of our show, guys. For the last bit, I'm going to talk about quickly Inter Miami's tie game. So Inter Miami had a tie game. It's unfortunate. They had a tie game, and I feel like they could have won, but they just didn't. And it's just a sad face, right? There's no way around it. It's a sad face. Lionel Messi had the one goal of the game. And so, yeah, it is what it is. Good luck to Inter Miami on their next game. I mean, and for the record, I didn't say who the team was. Miami sitting at 19-4, first things first, best team in all of the MLS. And, of course, they were playing New York City 500 ball club there, 11-11. They tied, like I said, 1-1 was the score of that ball game. Lionel Messi with the one score for the Inter Miami. So, is what it is. Next game is going to be against Charlotte. Charlotte, another 500 team. They're 11-11. So get ready for that game. Saturday, September 28th, 7:30 p.m., guys. Go check that game if you want to see Lionel Messi. I got to see him for a little bit on his return. About 30 minutes of his playtime is what I got to see. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the rest of it, but he looks like he's returned back to form. He looks better and healthier than ever, faster, and his reaction time is great as well. So I'm glad to see that for Inter Miami. I'm glad to see that team performing well. And to wrap things up, guys, Orlando City lost their last game. Unfortunately, they lost to Columbus. That's a 14-3 ball game there that they lost. Columbus is a good team, low-key. I mean, they're 16-4, one of the better teams over there in the East, one of the better teams in MLS. Look for this team to make a deep postseason push. As they get ready to head into that postseason, actually, and figure out who's gonna be crowned champion by the end of the MLS season. Orlando City 12-11, trying to keep their head above water. They can do it. Next game against FC Dallas, Saturday, September 28th, 8:30 p.m. If you want to check out that game, FC Dallas rocking a 10-13 record. They're sub 500, but they're not too far sub 500. If they're building on confidence, they're going to find success. Orlando City is going to have to come in. They're going to have to play tremendous defense. They're going to have to control the ball, make smart passes, and score goals effectively if they want to win that game. That's what's going on there in the MLS, guys. And in fact, that's actually what's going on there as far as the state of Florida. Corey Pujols. I am your host, and as always, we've brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you guys so much in the comments, y'all. You're that damn good, my man. You are the best. I really appreciate you. Glad to have you guys, Dad. Glad to have you guys on the show. Look for Dad to be on a show coming up soon. We're trying to work out that time and date, but as soon as we get that locked in, I will have him back on the show, and we'll be father and son style like we've done before in the past. Thank you guys again so much for having it locked again here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. And I look forward to seeing you guys same time, same place next week, Sunday, 9 p.m. We will have another jam-packed show for you guys as we get closer to the return of hockey and, of course, the return of basketball. Guys, I can't wait to see you guys there. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and until next time, stay blessed, take care, have a wonderful work week for those of you who are going to work, have a wonderful week at school for those of you returning to school. Blessings, and may God continue to bless you guys moving forward. I look forward to seeing you guys next week, all right? Until then,